here, and you've joined us for the weekly Our Millwall fan show with the Millwall No One Likes Us Talking team, which is broadcast every Friday evening. Enjoy!
Welcome back to the 2021-22 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talking's Our Millwall fan show, in the 7th show in our post-lockdown series. I'm your host, James Kelly, and I am the No One Likes Us Talking team of Patricia Maslin, Dave Hart and Gary Staff.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
So we're off the back of 2 more draws away from home, against West Brom at the Hawthorns on Saturday and midweek against Swansea at the Liberty Stadium. Evening, Pat. How do you assess the performances of the Lions this week?
After West Brom, absolutely buzzing, great game. Probably expecting to not come away with anything, but I think we looked the better side overall, creating good opportunities, even on top for a large part of the game. Great save by Bart in goal on that penalty. And I think we had a penalty call that wasn't given on Smith, which should have been. Game charged with emotion. I really enjoyed it. Complete contrast to yesterday's. If someone else wants to talk about that, it sent me asleep watching it. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, well, as Patricia said, great save from Bart on Saturday against West Brom with that penalty save. An equally important save in the dying moments against Swansea, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't actually watching the game because we've got Sky Red button, and for some reason it wasn't working. And then we've just had a new hub put in, and we couldn't get the internet working. So overall, we were a bit stuffed.
Had a nightmare.
Yeah, we were just getting texts and WhatsApp. So I can't really say a lot about the performance, only what I've heard.
Well, from what you've heard, what did you make of it?
Well, it seems that the first half was a bit dreary, but it seemed to pick up in the second half. I think, did we make a mistake in the second half early, and that gave them a chance? But then we pushed on, and Jed was unlucky with a shot. It was. I think it was quite within reason. We could have actually nicked it, but you know how it goes. But we lost there last season, so a point is, well, I'll take it.
Yeah. Gary, I suppose with Swansea, let's not forget, they were runners-up in the playoffs last year, and we've gone to their place and got a point off them. A team that are very comfortable in possession. They love having the ball. We frustrated them last night. What did you think of it?
I completely agree. I agree with Pat in the first half. I was almost asleep. But the second half, I think something must have been said at half-time, because the team come out with a bit more, unless that was the tactics, can hold them first half, because they haven't won at home this season. They had the crowd on their back. They were under pressure from the home support, and it was tough for them. So they just wanted to keep possession. They kept them going backwards and forwards, passing it around. But I think in the second half, I think we come out and had to give them a go. They only really got going in the second half when, I can't think of his name, the kid up front come on, and he started giving them a bit of hope, and that really got the game going. It turned into a bit of a cup tie, really. And to be honest, we should have took our chances. Everyone was having a go at Bradshaw, missing from 5 yards, but you've got a keeper who's literally 2-3 yards away from you, and like a big starfish, just in the way, just a real good stopper in the way. It's a tough gig to get past him, and so at least he was in the right place at the right time. He had the chance. So when Jed was through at the end, I thought, it was just, you could just see it was probably after 2 really tough games, just that last 10 minutes. And I think it was Cole Bates turned around and said, if we had one of our 9 out injured on the pitch, Ojo or Afobe on the pitch, Jed wouldn't have been there. Jed would have been taken off by now, because he'd been probably rested, because he was blowing. He was really blowing. And you can really thank Bart in the end for that amazing save from the free kick. But we should have won that last night in the last 10-20 minutes. I actually said to my dad, because I was watching it with my dad, I thought, when they put the kid on up front, I thought, there's only one winner here. But then all of a sudden we started getting back into it by bringing on Mahoney, who I thought changed it for us a little bit as well, give a bit more dimension. But I think Jed would have been taken off if we'd have had different options on the bench.
I suppose it just goes to show of like the amount of players we've got out at the moment. Like we are missing some really key players. You know, Hutchinson, who apparently has returned to training now. Danny McNamara, who's still out until October. Obviously, we've had a setback with a phobia. He could be out for a week or two. And obviously Ojo, who was taken ill, and now obviously Dan Ballard, who's now out of an eye injury. So it really isn't looking.
So, James, you can look at it that way, but you can say that, to be honest, that was a decent result last night with that many.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I thought it was a team. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think that getting a point was actually a positive last night. I was a bit annoyed with it afterwards because, as you said, it was pretty boring, but especially in the first half. But looking back on it, as I said, with the injury list that we've got, a point isn't a bad result, especially on the road midweek. You know.
Don't you think the guys all looked very lethargic, though? They didn't look fit at all.
Well, that's why I think they played it in 2 halves, Pat. I think they contained them in the first half, then thought, right, we give it a go for the last 45, which we did.
Yeah, but we're only, 8-9 games in, are we? I mean, they shouldn't be looking like that.
No, I agree with you. I do agree. But I think after the weekend, all the effort they put in to get a good point at probably one of the hardest away grounds, bar Fulham, they're going to go to this season. I think... And I'm the first one to moan about players being tired, but that was a pretty quick turnaround to go from somewhere like the Hawthorns and then go to somewhere like Swansea, as you say, who finished playoffs runners-up last season. So, yeah, I'll take a point.
Yeah. Dave, anything to add from that?
No, they more or less summed up what I was picking up. I mean, it was a tough game at the Hawthorns, for sure. And that was... the result I was more pleased with out of the 2 games. But a point from both, yes please.
Fair enough. Before we break, you may remember that in 2021, Lions fans Dean Brown and Steve Rendell were set to run the London Landmarks Half Marathon in aid of the MPS Society, who represent the people who have had the same condition as Harvey. So this Saturday at the Den, Dean and Steve will be joined by the one and only Harvey Brown and complete the last 316 metres by walking the perimeter of the pitch before the second half kicks off against Coventry. They thank those who have contributed, but if you can, if you are able, please make donations on the Just Giving page. Just put Just Giving Dean Brown 20 into your browser. Donations, no matter how large or small, will be greatly received. We're going to take a break there, and we're going to listen to Bethany Warren talking about Sands United.
We know that some men can struggle to talk about how they're feeling after the death of a baby. We hope that by building trust and a common bond, by playing together as a team, many more will be able to break their silence about baby loss and help others to do the same. Sands United FC has already saved the lives of men left feeling like they had no one to turn to in their grief. Are you a father who has lost a child? Talk to Sands United. They will help. Contact them on sufclondon@gmail.com. That's sufclondon@gmail.com. They will help.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia Maslin, Dave Hart and Gary Staff. Sands United have helped Millwall fans. Another Millwall fan told us how they pulled him back from the brink. Again, Sands United really can make a difference. Our first guest is from Essex. Some say he would be a great candidate for the TV show The Only Way is Essex. Why? Because he, amongst others, shows his entertainer skills exceedingly well as host for those who come to enjoy the VIP experience at the Millwall Executive Lounge. He was capped by England, but not a full international level. Many will remember him as the first Millwall goalkeeper to ever take us to the top flight, and showed he was more than a match for players that he confronted in the First Division. He also played for Middlesbrough, Stoke City and Portsmouth and Hartlepool United, where he also enjoyed tremendous fan adulation with the Monkey Hangers. It's a man that steps in when others cannot. Welcome to the show, Brian Horne.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Evening, Brian.
Evening, Brian. Very well, thank you.
Brian, good evening.
Who's let you down this week, then?
Ooh.
No, I'm only joking.
Oh, great start.
Thanks for that introduction, by the way. The only way I can tell you, I would never go on that show.
You're more than welcome, Brian. Well, before I let you off to the panel, for the uninitiated, can you tell the listeners what you do as part of the VIP experience at the Executive Lounge?
Yeah, I'm very honoured to be asked by the people, the commercial people, to come in and entertain the people in the Billy Neal Lounge. It's been going on for probably 2 or 3 years now, and there's usually tours that go on, and I'm on the mic giving people a bit of stick and different bits and pieces, just making it an enjoyable day. We give away some drinks, we have a little quiz, as I say, we go on a tour, and we take outside and give a bit of brief history about the club, where it started, how we got to the new ground, etc., etc. It's all a really, really good afternoon in the Exec Lounge in Billy Neal, and it's well run.
Hello, Brian. Pat here.
Pat, how are you?
I'm good. I've had Nicky Coleman locked up in my house all day.
Have
he
you?
does send his regards out to you.
He's
been doing
top
my
man,
plumbing.
Nicky. He's good. He's top man.
Bloke. He's doing my plumbing anyway. So,
apart from that, less of that, please. This is a family show.
Do you know who will be the former player in the lounge this Saturday?
Well, he's obviously one of my idols. When I used to stand on the Coldblow Lane end at the old den, I used to watch him as a young man, aspiring to be one day to play for the Lions and be as good as he was. It's Bryan King. He's coming into the lounge this week. He's going to be the guest. And obviously everybody knows, or hope they do, that Brian's brought out a book called The Lions King, and due to COVID, it didn't really get off the ground as it should have done. So now Brian's going to have a big push, and the people that wrote the book are going to help Brian try and push the book to all the supporters and all the Millwall contingent around the world. It's a great read. It's a great book. Obviously, the people that Brian will talk about at the club have been, some are dead, and that these stories will never be told again. So I think it's very important about Mill's history that Brian done this book to let people know what it was like back then.
Hello, Brian. Dave here.
Dave, how are you?
Tell me something. Oh, very good, thanks, mate.
Good.
Say hello to your dad for me.
I will do.
How did an Essex boy ever end up joining Millwall?
Well, my nan and granddad were from Peckham. Lived on the old Wooddean estate, and obviously my dad grew up in South London. My mum and dad moved out to Essex, and obviously my dad's first love is Millwall. So it was obviously from when I was a young boy, he would take me up to my nan's for a bit of dinner. Then we used to walk down Commercial Road and down to the den to watch the game. So it's not an Essex boy. My dad has always been a South Londoner, and with his family bringing up, and I was lucky enough to watch some great players at Millwall from the Coldblow Lane. So that's a very quick way of telling you how an Essex boy, if you like, come to play for Millwall. But it was always going to happen because my dad wouldn't let me play for anybody else. Not that I wanted to, by the way.
Good stuff.
Hi, Brian. Gary here.
How you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm the only person of the panellists who I've never actually spoken to, Brian. So finally get me a chance.
No problem.
Right, first off, tell us about the young Lions that come through with you at the ranks back in the 80s, and do you still keep in touch with any of them, mate?
Yeah. I think that was Millwall was built on back in the day. I mean, even before us, you had the youth team, the famous youth team that went on and won the Youth Cup. And then obviously our boys come through. So the likes of Michael Marks, Neil Ruddock, myself, David Thompson, Sean Sparham. I'm going to miss people out here. Sean Sparham. Who else? Paul Malcolm played up front. So in our actual youth team, we had 5 or 6 of us that come through the ranks. Graham Jones. I don't think he made professional, but Graham, and now he's assistant manager at Newcastle and was with England during the Euros, and he was manager of Luton. So all these type of people that have come through the Millwall ranks, I think back in the day it was part of our club, and we were very proud of it. The hunger that come out of South London. Darren Morgan, how can I forget Darren? Darren Morgan was there as well. So the hunger and the passion of the kids around South London was swallowed up by Millwall. But obviously, the Premier League came in, changed all the system, and made sure that the likes of Millwall couldn't afford to stay in the Premier League, if you like, for the amount of money that needed to be in that system for the kids. It played into the likes of Crystal Palace and Charlton that have been in the Premier League and had that type of money where they could sustain their youth system, and they started nicking all these fantastic youth players, and Millwall sort of nowadays end up with, I'm not going to say the second best, but we have to Scott has to work a lot harder to get some of the boys, but we need to get these youth team players, and we've got Ben coming through, Billy Mitchell's been coming through into the team. We need to keep producing young players, because once we do, hopefully we'll get these South London kids come back to Millwall knowing that if they come and they're good enough, they're going to get a chance in our team. But that's what it was all about back in the day, that you would find the players, they would come down. I mean, I think we had the Geordies, so Davy Thompson, Graham Jones, and a player called Gary Middleton that didn't quite make it at professional level, but went on to have a fantastic non-league career. I think he won the trophy to become a manager. So Gary done very well as well. Neil Ruddock, obviously we know what happened to Neil. He done brilliantly. Teddy Sheringham, we know what happened to him. He's won everything. So Nicky Coleman, as I say, all them type of players that have come through Millwall's system. Mark Kennedy's another one. Ben Thatcher's another one. Tim Cahill. We can go on and on and on, naming these players that Millwall have produced, but we need to get back, in my opinion, to I'm not saying we need to get back. Scott's doing a magnificent job with what he's got, and he needs to be praised to bring the players through. But that's what we need to do. Somehow we've got to get the best of the South London boys coming back to Millwall, knowing that if they produce and they work hard, they'll get a chance in the team at a young age, and then maybe things will open up for them to use Millwall maybe as a stepping stone to get where they want to go to.
Pat, just following on for that, Brian, I just want to say though, do you think the lure of the big money and the Premiership is blinding too many people these days? And maybe that mums and dads more than the players, unfortunately, I think. Really?
Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, if a Premier League club comes along and says, I want to sign your son, here's a house, what are you going to do?
Well, exactly.
It's Millwall can't afford to do them type of things, but that's how the Premier League want it. The Premier League want all the elite players to go to the elite clubs. They don't want them coming down to the likes of Millwall or Cambridge United or them smaller clubs that might have had a jewel in the crown and might have sold them for £3 or £4 million in today's market, which would have kept the club running handsomely for a couple of years. That doesn't happen anymore. Very rarely. Can you name me a player that's gone from the second division to the Premiership? Can you name a player that's signed and gone right the way through? I can't think of too many in the last 10 years. So, but back in the day, them type of things happened quite regularly, where a club may take a chance, but what they do now, they go into the international market. But maybe Brexit would help, because it's a little bit harder now to sign international players. So maybe now the English players might get more of a chance.
I hope so.
Yeah, as you say, it's all about money, isn't it? I can't think of his name, but that Championship player who's gone to play for Wrexham just because of the money they offered. And he's dropped out of league football, actually, to non-league, just because of the money Wrexham are offering him.
Yeah, I think that's
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a sort of a different circumstances what we're talking about. But I just think from Millwall's point of view, I've always found that South London is a really good place for kids. Football, they're hungry, they really want to do well. It's always been a brilliant place for footballers to come out of, and somehow we've got to tap back into that market and get the best before they go to Charlton and before they go. But see, Millwall sometimes, they get these players and they sell them off, when they're 15, 16. I think we've sold a couple of players to Liverpool, haven't we? A couple of young
one
lads
for Man City at the moment who played in the Charity Shield a couple of weeks ago. Yeah,
so as I'm saying to you, we're selling them on very quickly instead of maybe getting them into our first team. And listen, the chairman's kept our club going over COVID over 2 years, so there's no way I'm ever going to have a go at the chairman or anyone dealing with the money. But, you know, I'm a great believer. I come through the youth system and I've named quite a few players that come through. You know, we've had Ben come through, Billy Mitchell's coming through. You know, a few other players are starting to knock on the door. So long may that continue. But I think, you know, we've got to somehow get these young kids to Millwall knowing that if they're good enough, they're going to get a chance in our team rather than wait until 23 or whatever. But on saying that as well, managers now are under so much pressure to deliver and get everything right very quickly. Maybe sometimes they haven't got that time to maybe blood the youngsters in and give them that chance now, because football's very different. And you know, if the managers don't win 2 or 3 games on the trot, you know, they're all of a sudden they're under pressure. So, you know, there's other bits and pieces we've got to look at. But all I'll say to you, if Brentford can do it, then Millwall can do it.
Good link there. Talking about managers, played under a few at the Den. How would you rank the ones that, you know, in your time?
George Graham changed Millwall Football Club for the better. He come in, put loads of discipline into the club. You know what George did. He went on and saved us. We got to Wembley with him. We got us promoted twice. I can't say enough about George and Theo Foley. Sadly, Theo's no longer with us, as we know. But yeah. George Graham was, for me, magnificent manager who I believe changed Millwall. And then, you know, when John Docherty come in, I mean, he's my best ever manager for me. But I think he treated men like men. He brought in the likes of Terry Erlock and George brought Les in, but he galvanised the team together that, for me, was probably, I'm going to be a bit biased, probably Millwall's best ever team.
Bias, that's true.
But you know, John Dock was good. Bruce Rioja, you know, we didn't see eye to eye, me and him personally. But again, you speak to Teddy, you speak to Alex Ray, Colin Cooper. You know, they'll sing Bruce's praises and say he was a good manager. But you know, and then Mick McCarthy come in. So Mick come in, it's his first job. You know, it was a learning curve for Mick, I think, and he learnt from that and went on to, and as you know, has had a magnificent career in management. So, yeah, I think so. But, you know, again, from after Mick, I think going forward, I think Kenny Jackett done an amazing job for the club. I think he got as much as we could out of the club. I think he was brilliant, and I think he took it as far as he could before he went to Wolves. But yeah, I mean, I think them 4 managers, I honestly believe that George Graham changed our club for the better. You know, he landed foundations. He gave the club a little bit of success. He built good foundations. There was a strong youth system in place, and all that come together in the next 3, 4, 5 years, and that's when we got into the top flight. But George started that, and then John Docherty and Frank took it on and just built. He had as we say, some great players coming through the youth team, and they added a few little bits and pieces. As I said before, Terry Erlock, Kevin O'Callaghan come back to the club, George Lawrence signed, Stevie Wood signed, Paul Stevenson from Newcastle, and we, I think we was all good friends, unbelievably as well. You know, there was no one bigger than anybody else. I think the lads would put you in your place. The manager didn't have to if anybody got out of line. So yeah, I really enjoyed that period. It was probably the best 3 or 4 years in my football career, and really enjoyed playing with the players and the management. I think they were really brilliant to play under.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've enjoyed a couple of years up in the top flight, watching you in between the sticks, Brian. Thinking about our return to the second tier, we somehow ended up in the playoffs at the first shout, you know. Tell us what actually happened in those playoffs the first time round.
Well, I mean, I believe we should have gone straight back up. I think we had the team. I think Teddy was on fire. He was scoring goals. And you know, we went to Brighton. I think we was all very confident that we was going to win. And Paul Stevenson put us in front. We went 1-0 up, and then it was just self-destruct, I think. I think that they had I think a 20, 30-minute spell where they scored 4 goals and it was done. It was, it was too much of a gap to fill. And unfortunately, at their old ground, it's just in the space of, I think it was 20 minutes, if I'm right, they scored 3 or 4 goals. And
yeah, I remember it well.
And it was just so disappointing that we'd worked hard, we had a good side around us, and I think after that, Teddy had given the club, I think, an extra year. It was time for Teddy to move on. He had, he'd had so many clubs after him, and he didn't want to stay in that division. He was doing well. Football's a short career, so Ted moved on. Cass had moved on as well. So the team started to the team that we had started to disband, after that, it was after Bruce went, it was time for someone to be rebuild. And as I said, I think in previous interviews, maybe John Dock was a little bit too loyal to the players that got us into the top flight. Maybe we might have invested in it. Might have been to my detriment. It might have been to some other players' detriment. But I think that that maybe if we'd have maybe invested then, who knows? We could still be in the top flight today.
Mate, it's Gary again. Yeah, I want to take you back to the how we got there in the first place. And one video, I wasn't there for my sins. I wasn't there. I was probably too young at the time. But that penalty save at Bournemouth, what was that moment like? Talk me through it. You've probably talked about it 100 times, but
it was really strange because we went 2-0 up. Obviously, Kelly got
scored. Yeah, and Erlock scored a screamer, didn't he?
Yeah. He just ran on from a Teddy Sheringham header. He beat Tony Pulis to the ball and smashed it in the back of the net. I mean, we're 2-0. But then, unbelievably, they got a goal back. Tony Pulis scored. And then it was just sort of maintaining the game, if you like. I mean, I don't particularly think I didn't think I was having a bad game, but I wasn't having anything special, And then obviously 2 minutes to go, a ball comes into the box. They need to stay up. They're searching for the goal, and the ball bounces and sort of comes off Macca's arm, Alan McCleary's arm, and the referee gives a penalty. Now, you can imagine that we know, I suppose, as a group of players, a team, that if we get 3 points at Bournemouth, we're not far away from being promoted. I know we've still got a few games to go. I think we had Hull. I think we had Blackburn at home. Can't remember. We still had a few games to go. But if we won that game, we knew that it would be very difficult for maybe clubs below us to catch us, And there was such momentum in the team and belief that we didn't want anything to unravel the momentum that we were getting and the belief that we had. And I think it's just one of them moments in my career, or just in football, that just something special happens. I can't tell you why I would dive that way. I can, but I mean, I looked at the way he was running up to the ball, and he was too straight to whip it into the other corner. So I decided to go to that corner. And he side-footed it. It wasn't particularly a powerful penalty, but it was quite an accurate penalty in the corner. And I just dived to my left and saved it. And I think with the adrenaline, the amount of Millwall supporters that were behind the goal, I mean, I've saved quite a few penalties in my career, but I stood there and put my fist to the and sort of put my fist to the air. And it wasn't the fact. It was just the fact that I knew how much it meant to me, the team. And you've got to remember, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm in goal saving a few balls here and there, but I've got 10 players in front of me that worked, really, really hard throughout a season. And Rhino, I can never forget Rhino come up to me that day after the game, walking off the pitch. He said, "You've earned your money today." And it was the fact that the boys have worked hard, and I just popped up and saved the penalty. And it was important, and everybody had chipped in during that season. So although it was important for the club and it was an unbelievable adrenaline rush for me, I've got to tell you, I threw the ball out to Rhino after, and I thought I'd overthrown it because there was so much adrenaline going through my body after I saved it. I thought I'd overthrown the ball, but it's just one of them moments that it was important. I saved it. My arm went in the air, and I knew how important it was to the team first of all, the management and the supporters. I mean, it was just an amazing couple of minutes. It was.
And we'll all be forever grateful for that moment.
It's not just me. It was the 10 players in front of me as well for the whole season. You've got to remember that delivered them last 13 games of the season was amazing. And, let's hope it happens again one day, because there would nothing be better than Millwall supporters in the Premier League, because that's what the Premier League don't want. They don't want Millwall in the top flight, but I do, because we've got the best supporters in the land.
Oh, lovely stuff, Brian. Well, we could ask you so much more, and I'm sure hopefully you'll be able to come back on very, very soon. But before you go, obviously we've got Coventry this weekend. Can you give us a score prediction?
Well, unfortunately, it don't look like we've been scoring many goals recently.
No.
But I think we've got a good squad. I think, Gary's putting together a really good squad. So I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm going to say we're going to win 3-0. I know Coventry are a good side, but I think on Saturday things are going to tick and click up front, and I think we're going to score 3, and I think we're going to win 3-0.
Love the optimism, Brian. Well, thanks again for joining us at such short notice. And hopefully the fans will enjoy your fellow goalkeeper Bryan King in the lounge. Yeah. And from all of us, we wish you all the best, and we hope to see you again soon.
Cheers. Can I just say, Bryan King's book, all your Mill supporters, go out and buy it. It'll be a great read, and things that maybe the younger element don't know about the club and need to read the book. It's a really good read, and it's worth its money. And anyway, Kingy needs the money, so you go and
buy it. I've got it and read it.
All right, no problem. Take it easy.
Excellent.
All the best, yeah.
Cheers,
Brian.
Thanks again, Brian. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.
Great. Well, we're going to take a break there and listen to the man that can walk for miles, sing so many soul songs, goes everywhere with Millwall, even to Grimsby on a Tuesday night. I think he wrote that and is a great fundraiser. Here is Barry Stradling.
Hello, my name's Barry Stradling. I'm a Millwall fan my entire life. I'm doing the London Memory Walk to try and raise some money for the Alzheimer's Society. I'm doing this because I've got close friends with Alzheimer's and I've got a family relation with Alzheimer's. So if you could help me out by going to justgiving.com, fundraising Barry Stradling, and try and raise as much money as possible. If you can donate some money and also share the link to people, try and get everyone involved in this to try and help people suffer from Alzheimer's.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us Talking team of Patricia Maslin, Dave Hart and Gary Staff. Can you help to eliminate Alzheimer's? If you can, you will help so many people. Next up on the show, we hear from Ellis Barr.
Ellis here. Thank you for watching my videos. Now to hear what the Millwall Lionesses and Romans have been up to, and to hear who is next up for Gary Rowett and the Lions. Come on, Millwall!
Millwall Romans and their second team, Millwall Pride, saw their season start last weekend. Eamon caught up with Luke Shepherd of the Romans and acting manager of Pride, John Goodyear, earlier this week.
Millwall Romans and Millwall Pride had their first league fixtures this past weekend, and I've got Luke Shepherd, who was playing for Romans. He was considered to be man of the match, actually. Tell us what happened, Luke, and who you were playing.
Cheers, Eamon. We were against Stonewall FC, which we played last season, and they were a pretty hard team. We actually only beat them 2-0. This time we had a few injuries and we only had 11 players. It was a tough match, especially being a defender. It was non-stop, probably about 70% in our half. We battled well for the first 30, 40 minutes, but then they got the first goal. And then in the second half, they got 3 more. They were quality players. Yeah, quality players, and we got a consolation goal at the end from Rob Barr.
Now, that's the first loss for Millwall Romans in the league for a long, long while, Luke.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward, and I hope that lessons are learnt from that. I think you've got Charlton coming up next, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got Charlton coming up next as well, which will be a tough game. It was probably similar standards for Stonewall and Charlton last season, so hopefully we'll learn from our mistakes from last week and carry on the winning streak that we had last season.
Well, enjoy your weekend break. But before you go, Luke, I'd like to ask you, can you give us a prediction for Millwall versus Coventry City this week?
Our prediction, I'm going to go 2-0 to Millwall.
Well, that's a great prediction. We'd like that. And if it could be any more, it'd be even more wonderful. But 2-0's lovely. Luke, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I look forward to hear from you again. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Eamon.
I caught up with John Goodyear, who was acting manager for Millwall Pride this weekend for the first game of the season. John, tell us what happened.
I've got to be honest, I'm so proud of the team for the first game for Millwall Pride. Obviously, it's been quite a long summer since our last game, and we're a new team coming together. And I think we had a really good game. The result was a little bit disappointing. We lost 3-0 in the end. But to be honest, I'd say for the first 25 minutes, the teams were really even. And we played really well for a team that was thrown together. No one had played with each other before. And we played some really good football. It was touch and go, and then I'd say you could tell that it was the end of a long pre-season. Fitness was a little bit down, but there was a lot of promising signs ahead of the season to come. And to be honest, I think we did really well, and that's the main thing, that a lot of people who had been away for football for a while, or had been a bit unsure about playing, had come in and actually had a really good time, and that was the thing that I was happiest about for the whole weekend. So a little disappointing result. I'd say you could probably blame me as a striker for not actually creating that many chances, but I think it's looking good for the season ahead.
Well, get those scoring boots on, John. And the next time we play Titans in the return fixture, we expect you to smash it, as they say these days.
Absolutely.
OK. John, before you go, can you give me a prediction for Millwall versus Coventry at the Den this weekend?
I'm obviously going to back Millwall. I'd say Coventry are promoted side, so I'm going to say 2-0 victory. Confident.
Well, if you're confident, so are we. Thanks for that, John, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon and hearing of your first victory. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, we'll bring it to you as soon as possible. Cheers.
OK, bye.
Bye.
Jeff Burnige, who follows the Lionesses at all levels ever since the day they were founded. Isn't that right, Pat?
Well, no, actually. He wasn't there in 1973 when I started the Lionesses, but he has made himself part of Lionesses folklore history.
And here, Jeff brings us a brief update.
Well, the Lionesses had no match last Sunday, but they took the opportunity to train at St Paul's and then twice more during the week. Meanwhile, the under-14s and under-16 teams both won their opening league matches, the under-14s winning away at Palace. This Sunday, the first team are at St Paul's at home against New London Lionesses, kick-off 2 p.m. And unusually for this level, it's free to enter. There will be a lot to discuss on this week's show because a managerial change was announced on Wednesday.
And as Jeff mentioned there, we will hear more about the Lionesses from our second guest, and that will be after the break. It's Coventry City on Saturday, the team with whom we forgot to turn up to at the end of last season. Henry Statto Morgan has been looking into the opposition and offers these views.
Evening all. View from the opposition here with, again, a lack of opposition. Away fans potentially hard to come by so far this season, so unfortunately you're going to have to put up with a bit of statistician Morgan stuff from me. Apologies in advance if you're expecting somebody more lively from the Sky Blues, but there we are. Coventry City coming into the game, what do we need to know? They won in midweek against Cardiff 1-0 with a goal coming from Victor Goykeres. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but if I had a Coventry fan on here, they might be able to do the correct pronunciation. However, they have decided not to respond to any messages or texts this week. There we are. I think the big headlines for us Millwall fans are really the fact that they currently sit fourth in the division, 1-5, lost 2, no draws, and those people thinking that it should be a must, a win game for us, I think could be in for a bit of a shock. A lot of people talking about their loanee from Chelsea, 23-year-old Jake Clark-Salter. Rave reviews in the Cardiff game, so he's definitely someone that we are going to need to be wary of. Obviously, Millwall coming into this off the back of a goalless draw in the Welsh second city of Swansea. A performance which, to be fair, we've got injuries, we've got illness in the camp. Mason Bennett coming back off a long layoff playing well. We've got Murray Wallace at the back trying to do a job. Probably on the face of it, it's not a bad result as long as we can get a win against Coventry. So that's what's coming from Coventry City. 5 wins already this season, beating some decent teams in Middlesbrough, beating a decent side that we lost 3-1 to at Cardiff. On the road, they've not been as good. They've lost at QPR and they've lost at Barnsley. So let's hope that we can keep that poor run of away form going for Coventry. It's over to the other lads and lasses to see what they think.
Well, after hearing that, what do we reckon? Pat, let's start with you.
Well, everyone knows they've done a 6-1 last year. I think... And we seem to be playing all the top sides at the moment. The 2 past draws were basically good draws because they were top of the table sides. Again, we're playing the team that's fourth. I think it will depend on our injuries, who we got back. I mean, if we could bring the team back who we played against West Brom, I think we've got a chance. I think everyone underestimates Coventry because they only come up the season after last. I think we could win it if we've got our injuries back up and fit. I mean, we've got 8 people who have been injured. Hopefully, Danny Ballard will be back. And hopefully, I don't know, a Phobie, but I can't see him being ready. I'll probably go a 1-0 win, hopefully.
That's good. Okay. Dave, what about you?
Well, I've been listening to the Coventry Massive going on about their win against our reserves, our youth team, and wait till they get the big dogs out this Saturday, giving it all the big one. So, I just hope that... we can really turn it on their ear. And I think I'll agree with what Brian said, and I'll take a 3-0 win this weekend.
Nice one. Gary, what are your thoughts?
Just hoping for 1 or 2 players back. Hopefully Ojo wasn't COVID or anything silly like that. Hopefully a Phobie's on the men. I've heard earlier tonight that maybe on here that Hutchinson's back training again, so maybe he's been on the bench, but we're at home crowd behind us. I'll go 2-0 like all the other guests tonight, apart from Brian. But I just think if we can just get the home crowd behind us, not get too frustrated, I think we should be comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't look too much into the 6-1 at the end of last season because obviously neither team had anything to play for. Coventry were safe from relegation. Millwall were our season had finished. We were going to finish mid-table anyway. It was a fluke result in my eyes. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think obviously with the 2 draws that we had in the last week, going to West Brom and then going to Swansea and getting a 1-0 and a 0-0. Hopefully we can, we've had a couple of days off now, and we can come back home and put a performance on for the fans, because I feel like we're due a win and a decent one at that. So I'm going to say 2-0. Adding on to that, we have a prediction from Carla Marie Hales, who runs Millwall Home and Away site on Facebook. So on that note, we're going to take a break there and listen to what the fantastic fanatics can do with a little bit of help from ourselves.
Hi, I'm Richard Gordon, and I'd like to invite you to become a Fantastic Fanatic. Fantastic Fanatics is a great way to raise funds for your sports club. Sign up today, find your club, and securely register your everyday debit and credit cards. Every time you spend with our retail partners, they pay a percentage back to your club. It costs you nothing, and you can win cash prizes along the way. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help your club be the best it can be.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia Maslin, Dave Hart and Gary Staff. It's well worth purchasing items through the Fantastic Fanatics website and rewarding the Millwall Community Trust with donations. The Millwall Lionesses had a weekend off, with manager Katie Whitmore standing down in the meantime. Eamon caught up with one of the acting management team members, Alex Russell.
What I was going to say, we were sad to hear about the departure of Katie Whitmore, who managed the Lionesses through the uncertainty of the pandemic and appeared on a number of our programmes with us. We enjoyed speaking with Katie, and we wish her all the best in her future endeavours. Alex, with Katie gone, how will Coach Greg and yourself manage the interim period until a new Lionesses manager is appointed?
Well, first and foremost, obviously, I'd like to pass my condolences on to obviously Katie's departed, but she left us with a fantastic sort of squad and foundation. So Greg and I are really fortunate in coming into this role at the moment. It's probably not a better group I could want to take over in the interim period, but it's just at the moment just about putting on really intense training sessions, hopefully building some fitness up, whether that be, endurance or sort of muscular endurance aerobically, and then just try and steady the ship between now and whenever a new manager is appointed.
So you're in there to consolidate on what was left, and you're going to take the torch forward between the pair of you. Well done, you guys. Superb. A bit unlucky last time out at Ainsford, but it was much better performance than that against Ashford Town. How about what happened there then, Alex?
Well, I actually wasn't at the game. That was my 9th day of COVID, so I wasn't there. However, I got a running commentary as I was well on the road to recovery. I was well enough to get a commentary from Kelly Webster. It sounded like it was a lot closer than it has been previously. We led the game on occasions, and I think it was just unfortunate. It sounded like we were really in the driving seat for the first half of the game, just perhaps maybe dropped off a little bit in the second half, which is why Greg and myself have come in and we're trying to instill really good, intense fitness sessions at the moment and trying to get them to be able they can make it to that 90th minute and beyond. Definitely, it sounded like a lot better of a performance, one to be proud of. Goals for the likes of Ellie Hinkley's obviously come away with a goal, and Maya Graham, who you've had on previously, fantastic for her to get her first goal for the club as well.
No, that was good to hear that from Maya. Excellent stuff. That was an improvement, without a doubt. But have you actually got your squad, or are you still looking for some of the final pieces to the jigsaw?
I mean, we're always going to be recruiting. I think healthy competition is something you need for a whole season. And I don't think, we're not restricted by transfer windows like the men's club. And so we're always actively searching to see if we can improve. Never going to be happy with what we got. We're always, even if we come away with a win, we're always going to look for where improvements could be found. But yeah, definitely still recruiting, but we're sort of going to isolate it down to specific positions that we're looking for at the moment. Greg and I have only had a couple of sessions together. We don't necessarily want to sign anybody for a new manager to come in and have to deal with, so just steadying the ship for now. But I'm sure when we get a new manager through the door, that recruitment will definitely be something that they're looking to do. However, like I say, we've definitely got a more than capable squad at this level.
That's good. We'll still keep promoting that you're looking for players, and hopefully you'll get some attraction through that process. When Sunday comes, what do we know about the opposition? I seem to remember us playing them in the Cup last year, New London Lionesses.
We did play them in the Cup last year. We won't dwell on the scoreline too much, but it was a loss. From what I remember, I do remember them having one up front, press with the one, and they looked for a nice ball in behind, which they did catch us out with on a number of occasions. So I think, we've worked in how we defend against that, how we counter against that, and hopefully we can go into Sunday with a good tactical plan. I think we've seen obviously that New London Lionesses have something like 87 registered players at the club. Good. So we couldn't possibly predict what 11 or sort of 16 they're going to put out, but we've prepared as if we're going to, we've prepared like we have for any other game. a couple of sort of minute details for this particular fixture, but we'll take as if they're going to bring their strongest squad.
And just to be clear for the listeners, this is not the team that sort of left Millwall and evolved into something different. This is completely separate side, New London Lionesses, and not to be confused with the other one. Before you go, how about a prediction for Millwall v Coventry on Saturday is always our ask.
As long as it's better than the last game of last season, then we can't. I wouldn't be too worried. I think I didn't watch the game against Swansea. I was training with the girls, but I've heard that Bradshaw come in and put a good performance in. I think the back three, obviously Ballard is a potential doubt, but I'm confident in our defence of keeping goals out. I'd like to think we could nick a 1-0, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we could do that. However, some of our interested parties are even identifying bigger scores for us than that. But that might be just wishful thinking.
That's optimism at its best.
Yeah, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. The other side of the coin, and that's to say to you, happy birthday, Alex. It is your birthday today, and all the team at No One Likes Us Talking sends you their best wishes. And they also send you their best wishes for your continuing recovery from COVID, which is some hell of a thing to get over. So you take care. Thanks for joining us, and all the best for the Lionesses this weekend. And until the next time, bye for now.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take another break there and listen to Bethany Warren describing a most helpful app.
Hi, Bethany Warren here. Millwall Lionesses have partnered with international smartphone application Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes is an application that truly benefits the poor of sight and the blind, but is supported by those of us that can see.
You might wonder how blind people deal with everyday challenges. Well, normally the answer is simple. We're not that different from you. We play music. We go to school. We go to work. You get the picture. But sometimes the simplest things can be difficult, and we need a pair of eyes.
Connect to first available helper.
That's where you come in.
Establishing video connection.
Through your smartphone, Be My Eyes connects the blind with sighted people through a live video connection. Simply choose if you need help or want to help by the click of a button.
That's a nice picture of you and your family, Caroline. Is it for a present? Yes, it's a photo from my parents.
You can help just by installing the Be My Eyes app.
Correct image.
And we'll notify you when someone needs your help. And if you're in the middle of something, don't worry. Someone else will step in. So, would you care to be my eyes?
Download the app onto your smartphone now and help those that need your eyes straight away.
I'm James Kelly, and I'm back with the No One Likes Us Talking team of Patricia Maslin, Dave Hart and Gary Staff. It really is a great app to download, and you won't be overburdened, but you really will make a difference to help so many people. People continue to lose their lives due to this dreadful virus or as a consequence of suffering with it. As deaths and infections continue and higher numbers are being hospitalised too, our thoughts go out to their families, friends and those that take care of them. Additionally, please respect the requirements of transport and other locations in reducing the risk of infection to minimise the possibility of further lockdowns. Also be accepting of the preference of other individuals in how they choose to protect themselves.
First of all, let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? It is now located in the Millwall Community Trust car park. That's beside Millwall's Den in Ballina Road. That Millwall Lioness, Kelly Webster, is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need support, and you can help if you can by making a one-off or regular monetary donation online at Banquet. That's BANKUET. Or on Saturday, you can make donations pre-match at the Hub, about 50 metres down from the Lions store. Alternatively, you can also make contact with the team via their Twitter and Facebook sites. And what about sponsoring a player? Enjoying a great executive lounge VIP package with family and or friends, or just get behind the club with a number of different ways. Just contact the lovely Andrew Stead in the commercial department to find out more. Good night.
Next week, Eamon returns on Friday at 8 p.m. to host the Rosebud Between the Wallflowers show. That's Bethany Warren with Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. And from a pair of wallflowers on a panel to game changers, the Proper Blokes Club has amassed an incredible following, and their walks take on some fantastic strolls. Great yomps from Bognor to Worthing last weekend. Come along and join Scott Johnson in breaking the stigma of men's mental health on any of the walks or talk groups. There are regular walks from familiar locations. Just check out the Proper Blokes Club on Twitter and Facebook for arrangements. It's good night from me.
Don't forget, player sponsorship for the Lionesses is available this season. Why not share the burden between a few of you or even a couple of companies? You can give them some added support. You can find their details on their website. Just put Millwall Lionesses into your browser and you will find them easily enough. Lastly, the Lionesses are still recruiting at the moment. If anyone is interested in coming down to St Paul's, Salter Road, Rotherhithe, just go and find them and they will be there. Please email also, if you're interested, recruit@millwalllionesses.com. I'll repeat that. It's recruitment@millwall-lionesses.com, or direct message either their Twitter account or Instagram account, Millwall_LFC. And don't forget the Romans need you too. Go along on Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. to St Paul's Sports Ground and introduce yourself to the player manager, Paul Loading, to find out about joining the team. Good night from me.
Lastly, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Don't forget you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team bring reports from our games both home and away, and updates on Millwall community matters too on the Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. That's it from me. Thanks Patricia, Dave, Gary. Until next time, why not listen to the first of the new Millwall No One Likes Us Talking monthly podcasts? Links are on our Facebook and Twitter social media and all popular podcast sites. And that's good night from me.